Good morning. Welcome back. It is Tuesday. We are going to be talking about all kinds of great stuff. We're going to be talking about the mysterious new Sony MCU movie. We're talking about that Birds of Prey name change. We're going to be doing our Black character spotlight. Yes, there will be lotion available if anyone would like some. And we're gonna participate in some Twitter shenanigans, and that's going to be fun as well. Thank you everyone for coming and hanging out today. I've got me an Ed. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I've got me a Maggie. Hello.
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 I have got me a Dan. Hello.
Hello.
I talk weird. Let's get into it. Segment number 1, the mysterious new Sony/MCU movie. I love, I can tell when many hands have come together to do really great things in these scripts. Hey, y'all ready for a trip to Speculation Town? We should have got, we have to call Scoops back for these stories. I don't know where he's at.
I heard from him this morning. He's hot on the scent. Yeah. He's in Culver City. I don't want to say where, but he's in a closet somewhere in Culver City.
Oh, that's very exciting.
Yes.
Maybe we can bring him in when this gets a little bit more meaty.
Yeah.
Multiple sources have confirmed that Sony has a currently undisclosed Marvel movie scheduled for October 2021. So when Sony... I'm sorry. No, it's not that. It's just one of those things where it's like, of course this is great, but it's good news. I'm happy for them to continue to do wonderful things. When they did make a new deal for a third Spider-Man movie, Kevin Feige's statement was, Spider-Man also happens to be the only hero with the superpower to cross cinematic universes. So as Sony continues to develop their own Spideyverse, you never know what surprises the futures might hold. How else would you say this? This is classic Kevin Feige. This is classic Kevin Feige speech, where he says a bunch of words that sound like they mean something.
Yeah,
nothing.
And they don't mean anything.
Yeah.
None of those words.
This could be him asking for a meeting to maybe, hopefully. I don't know.
It is such a skill and a talent. I mean, because, and I get it, because he is constantly under pressure to give away the slightest hint or clue or whatever, and he has mastered a way to give you that answer that you're like, oh, thank you, and you walk away, and then it's like a Usual Suspects thing where you're like, wait a minute, he didn't tell you anything at all.
That was a great interview. We really got the vibes.
Yeah.
There were no vibes.
Kobayashi Cup.
X's and O's on this piece of paper. Right down.
Yeah, well, he's the only person I know that interviews in invisible ink.
Oh, yes.
So we do know that there's going to be a new Spider-Man movie at some point because they've signed it. Do we think there's a possibility that they might be connected?
Sure. Yeah. Well, can we get to the rumor of who it might be? Who is it? Who's the person? Who's the mystery character?
Well, one of the rumors, there are a lot of them. It could be Kraven, no. Black Cat, Silver Sable, no. Madam Web, Aunt May.
No, they already tried that. They were gonna
The Aunt Mayverse.
No.
But what it seems like a lot of people are really discussing is Spider-Woman, because she seems to be one of the most prevalent characters that they would talk about here. Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, I think might be the Spider-Woman that they would be talking about. But yeah, Spider-Woman is an incredibly, there are obviously tiers to comic book characters. She is one of the more street-level characters, but of them, you can make anyone good if you write them well, but she does seem to be one of the more popular ones.
Well, yeah, and the thing, they kind of did her the way they do a lot of characters. Over the course of time, they get so many backstories that they become like a super character. Like, she's like a super secret agent, a superhero,
The
a spy.
Barbie of superhero.
Yeah.
You can do anything, any hat, you put it on, anywhere she's been, any career she's had.
It's Barbie. Ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba. Pew, pew. Barbie is now Spider-Man. She can do what Spider-Man can. And another interesting thing for anyone who was really into the AKA Jessica Jones TV series or the Alias comic book series, that was originally when Bendis pitched that it was going to be a Jessica Drew series, but they already had stuff planned for her for Secret Wars, and so he had to wind up doing it this way.
Yeah. What if I may posit something, I think it's probably Spider-Woman. I think it's probably Spider-Woman. But we know that Carnage is in the Venom sequel.
Or at least it's gonna be Carnage.
Or is going to be Carnage, or however Woody mop top redheaded carrot top Woody Harrelson is going to go.
Oh.
And this is coming out a year right after the Venom 2. What if Sony is planning to do Maximum Carnage? It's set up in Venom 2, and then a year later they're doing their own. So it's a Spider-Man movie, and there was rumors that Tom Holland could maybe be in a Sony Spider-Man movie that's not an MCU Spider-Man movie. And I know that the dates with everything are weird. This is not the thing, but like I'm just we're on the speculation train, baby.
Yeah.
So put my engineer's hat on. But if they set up in Spider-Man or Venom 2 like the Maximum Carnage storyline, and then like they do that like back-to-back thing where a year later they make Maximum Carnage, it's probably Spider-Woman, but you know, let's go crazy.
Well, here at the caboose of the speculation train, I concur that would be super dope, because I think it would be an interesting way to finally get the anonymity for Spider-Man that we need, you know, for these people to be viable products in the future. Their anonymity towards Spider-Man is what will make them sell in the future. Once people kind of, the Mountain Dew wears off of the initial Venom rush. Once that initial surge wears off, they'll be ready to watch him actually interact with his nemesis from the comic books. So then that would be a brilliant way to do that, to just ham fist some giant Maximum Carnage movie. Make it 3 hours long.
I don't think you could have kept that under wraps this long, though.
That's true.
Not something that big. No.
So Spider-Woman. It also just has the name recognition, which I think in producer meetings they're probably very concerned about. Like, if we're gonna have like a woman-female lead, like maybe Spider-Man but a woman.
What if spiders but women?
Yeah, spiders but women.
Whoa.
Money?
Oh, there's already one of those.
Oh, okay.
I'll put the money here.
Okay, yeah.
Well, but also in the comics, there's a character called Silk that they were thinking of putting into the next Spider-Verse movie, as it were. And she would be an interesting way for the movies to take Spider-Woman, because she's a little, in the comic books, Silk is a little bit too. She's super attracted to Spider-Man because they have the same pheromones, because they got bit by the same spider. Like that spider bit homeboy.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that spider.
Really
I love that. I know, that's really
like they meet each other and they're just like, "Would you like to see my comic collection?" Yes, I will come upstairs. And then they're just on the ceiling, bang, 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 all over the place. You know, like Lionel Richie, baby.
Like spiders.
Oh yeah. He's like, "What are these eggs in my tummy?"
The Spider-Man in the comics is a grown man. We should all make that.
Oh yeah. No, of course.
He's a teacher. He's a grown man.
Yes. She shows up to his graduate course. So the bottom line is, if they do, I think that would be an interesting way to have something different about this universe. Like after Zendaya goes off to make her album and be a superstar and not have to be technically MJ anymore, there could be a really cool love interest, but they're ripped apart. In the comic books, they're ripped apart because they can't be like that all the time. They can't just continue mating all the time. They have to like fight crime. They have to do stuff. So, and they have to establish each other's own identity. So, or she has an established identity away from him. So, yeah,
that's right.
I'm down for some more romance in Spider, but because they shy away from it because they think it's gonna come off like sexist in a way, but it doesn't need. I would be very into it.
No, Tom Holland's going to be visibly 19 by the time that's humanly like going to be 30, but visibly 19 by the time they get this whole thing on.
Yeah, no, that could be very interesting. Thank you for all of that. That good download. So 2021 now includes 4 MCU movies: Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Thor. 3 DC movies: The Batman, The Suicide Squad, The Black Adam. There's no the there, but it's coming any day.
Justin Timberlake is the new marketing. Put the on there.
Yeah.
Put the.
And so now there's going to be this untitled the Marvel movie. Do you think that the market is going to continue to support so many of these films, or are we going to start to see real parity in what works and what doesn't, and not necessarily like, oh, this thing is like trash and made $5, but I think we're so used to seeing these records being broken with these big movies, and it's going to start maybe leveling out at some point.
Batman's bulletproof. Not in actuality, but at the box office. I think that at least a new Batman movie is going to do well. The Suicide Squad, I don't know. with what happened with Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey, how much of that is left over from Suicide Squad? If this is R-rated, Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey was R-rated, and if you, as we mentioned on charting, that potentially, when you look at who was going to see the films, may have had an impact. I think personally had a very big impact on the box office. Black Adam, that's The Rock. It's going to be marketed as a Rock movie. It's going to be globally. It's going to do very well. Spider-Man and Thor, I think, are pretty safe bets. Yeah. Doctor Strange, we'll see. You got Sam Raimi attached, and then Shang-Chi is a new movie. So who knows?
Right.
I don't think it's so much about comic book movies. It's like, how are these? Are they good?
That's
they good?
Yeah. It's become so much of its own genre that it's like almost ceases to become about the comic book characters and more like, okay, what's the story?
Yeah, we're gonna have some dudes flying around, but also what's happening at home?
Yeah. What's this about though?
Yeah.
And I think comic book movies will benefit. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think they'll benefit from the fact that like a certain level of comic booky stuff you can get on TV, and you got to go to the movies to get the like blow your seat back Memorex ad or whatever. Like, oh, this is so amazeballs. I think that's what's going to happen with the movies. I think because if you look at all of these are super spectacle. All the Marvel ones,
right?
You know what I mean? And Shang-Chi, I think Shang-Chi is going to print money. I think I'm going to call that one right now because
I'm very excited.
I think it'll be the first time that American resources are put with an Asian hero who gets to be the best person in his own movie. There's no white dude coming in and be like, hey, Shang-Chi, let me show you how to kung fu real quick. There's none of that. There's him in his own world with his own enemies and a diaspora around the character to really, for lack of a better word, in a Black Panther sense, make a world where he can really kick some butt.
Well, and we're also like, all movies are cyclical. Every 10 years, you're going to get this wave of people who are super into like martial arts movies, at least in the West. And so, Shang-Chi could be right on time to capitalize or to start one of those waves.
Yeah, I mean, but we also talked about this yesterday on the show. The DCEU, not inclusive of Joker, but the extended universe proper, the last two films, Shazam and Birds of Prey, two of the best, along with Wonder Woman, two of the three best reviewed movies in the entire series, the two lowest openings. So it's weird. It's sometimes quality is not enough. Sometimes it is. There's just some weird ineffable thing that people don't connect to. So I think I don't know. It's also 2 years from now. Who knows where all of these franchises are going to be?
And also,
it only takes one studio shakeup for everything to go away.
Exactly.
That's true.
It's just like what's that game where you do this and then you spell out the letters?
Is it Boggle?
Boggle. It's like it is Boggle. Where you just shake it and it's like, oh well, now all those properties are gone and we have all brand new properties now.
Yeah. Disney takes one sidestep and then poof.
And I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but Marvel is not fighting any bad will from any kind of horrific movies. They're just not.
Yeah.
Their worst movies are pretty bland and dumb and a little too funny, and you don't take them seriously. Their worst movies are that. The worst DC movies make you feel like you want to jump off a bridge. You feel like, geez Louise, the world is so terrible. Even Superman's sad. Look at Superman crying. Damn.
They make me depressed.
He's crying energy blast down his face, and he's burning up a bunch of people in collateral damage. This is so sad. I have never had a Marvel movie make me feel that way. I'm sorry. So I think, but again, I went to go see Birds of Prey first thing because I wanted to see some like Lady Wick and some, and I heard Cassandra Cain was in it. I like the movie, but oh man, that Cassandra Cain, I could see why people were a little miffed about that. But that isn't enough to make it have a low opening. And I just want to say, last things last, it didn't have as big a budget as these other movies either. Shazam nor Birds of Prey had as big a budget as these other things that came out. So the level of them being lower, I just feel like it might be a little bit overblown. I think people who wanted to see that movie first went to go see it. Maybe there wasn't as many people as they thought, but I don't think that's some huge failure. I think if they keep trucking along at this rate and keep the budgets down,
it did make its money back.
It did make its money back, and also with budgeting.
Without the marketing, they don't
it's got
have
to
the
make
marketing
about 3 times to make it to actually make its money back. So.
Well, if it goes away in the requisite amount of time that normal movies go away these days, then maybe it's somewhat of a failure. But if it keeps trucking along, if people go and people tell people like it isn't bad, it isn't like Suicide Squad. Like if you just run to your friends and shake them by the lapels and say it's not Suicide Squad, dude.
Yeah.
If you do that, then maybe.
That week 2 is going to be very interesting to watch.
Right.
It's big because the normal drop off for a big opening superhero film is between 50 to 60%. So if it drops less than 50% in week 2, I think that's an indication of what you're saying, Ed, which is that people are the word is spreading. But if it drops, particularly as you get closer to 60%, then you're looking at something more akin to the drop you'd see on a higher opening for a superhero film, which is not great for its long-term prospects, at least domestically. Worldwide, it also opened below expectations, but there's a lot to be written still in that book as well. So, yeah, it's the budget does definitely temper it a lot as far as the size of the opening, but I do think it is legitimate, even with Shazam, to address, because Shazam wasn't a flop, but it certainly did not make back a huge amount of money. I think it is worth looking at, even with the low budgets, like what is the real impetus behind this performance and why the domestic debuts, particularly of these films, have been on a steadily decreasing scale since Batman v Superman.
Thank you very much, Dan. Always coming through with the numbers. I love because I know that in your head numbers do a beautiful dance that they just don't do for the rest of us.
They do a Joker dance in my head. Box office figures dancing around.
It's beautiful, and I wish I could live there. Thank y'all so much. This is the part of the show where we genuinely tell you that thank you for, you were so supportive. You watch all the stuff. Y'all hung out with us late Sunday night while we were doing Oscar stuff. And we were doing our live movie fights, which if you didn't get to watch it live, you can watch it live. It is up now. You share it with your friends. You turn on the notifications. You comment. You hit that bell. We got a little baby ding. I like that. The bell's over there because we did a movie fight. So thank y'all so much for all of the support that you've given us. We've got some great things up right now. A lawyer will defend the Joker IRL, which is out now, a video that you can check out.
Nice.
Again, you can see the Oscars movie fights. Go check out Dan's charting if you want to hear more about them sweet Birds of Prey numbers. And speaking of, segment number 2, so Birds of Prey has a new name. This is via The Verge. Warner Brothers has changed the name of the movie to Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. They've gotten rid of the Fantabulous. The Fantabulous is gone. R.I.P. Fantabulous. Press F for respect.
At least on movie tickets.
At least on movie ticket sites, yes. For most major theaters, and a Warner Brother representative told The Verge that the name change is part of a search expansion for ticket sales, making it easier for people to find the movie.
I'm looking now on my AMCA list to see what
fancy.
No, that's because that's interesting to me because I feel like if you're looking for that movie, you're not looking up the word Fantabulous. You're looking up either Harley Quinn or Birds of Prey, which were both already in there.
You can see it right there at the top. It says Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what do we think about this? Do we think that this could actually make an impact on people being able to easily find or search for the movie?
I mean, I think Warner Brothers right now has to use every weapon at their command because they're highly invested in this movie succeeding.
Hey, I don't want to Monday morning quarterback this, but I kind of should have been the title from the get. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things. Oh man, like bottom rifle. No, Top Gun. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing? This is so weird. You know, everybody. And it was almost like they were trying to hedge their bets of like, well, people like Birds of Prey, but maybe. Maybe they don't like the Harley Quinn section of the Birds of Prey mythos in the comic books, but they like the version on the screen. So it's not like they were trying to hedge their bets and got no bets.
It was weird.
Yeah, like
in regards to the title,
I think that Harley Quinn at this point, when it comes to moviegoers, has way more brand recognition than Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey, a very popular comic series, a very weird WB television series that women of a certain age watched. Oh, it was not.
I forgot about that.
as did everyone else.
You sound like Quinn talking about sharks.
Birds of prey, slimy hole.
I got this scar. Doing my popcorn to the birds of prey. But yeah, so Harley Quinn, because of, I much more popular figure. I get the it feels like it's one of those things where they didn't want to admit it was a Harley Quinn movie.
That's what it feels like. It was like
And now they're just reticent to that we can't hide it under words people can't spell anymore.
Right. Which is like, I don't know what their hesitation about that was, other than I don't know if it was Suicide Squad influence, but it was like Harley Quinn was not the problem of that movie, or not like I don't think that would be a deterrent.
It's like you say, Ed. It's in everything in hindsight and in retrospect. Like I think maybe the initial thing was we're gonna grow the fan base. We're gonna use Harley Quinn to build this new thing out, and it's gonna be called Birds of Prey, and people will come see Harley Quinn. But I think when you look back, both with that and the R rating, I think both of those moves, and they're risky moves, and we've seen those risky moves pay off. We saw it pay off with Logan. We saw it pay off with Deadpool. I think we're seeing that risky move not pay off in the sense of they tried the R rating and they tried to build off the new brand with the hope that would carry over to a new audience or bring over a lot of people. And I think in both cases, those are going to kind of prove to be tactical mistakes for this particular film.
Yeah, especially the R rating, just because with the promotion material and stuff, it did seem like a thing that I would want to bring younger girls to, in a way. It was like, a group of female superheroes.
And it's very bright and sparkly.
Bright,
it's not dark. It's not brooding.
Right, and it's so rare for those movies to make it to the box office. So to have an opportunity to be like, oh great, I can bring my, younger cousins to this. Oh, it's an R rating. I can't. I guess I'm going alone, or
Right.
It was just that. It seemed like an opportunity to bring that demographic to a superhero movie.
Yeah.
And when you look at the movie itself, I feel like, they take advantage of the R rating, but there was nothing. I think, again, when you look at the other R-rated films, Joker, Deadpool, Logan, they each had elements about the film that required it to be R-rated. That it would not serve that character if it wasn't an R-rated film. Whereas with this movie, looking at it, I think you could have made a PG-13 version of the movie that is 90% exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I think, again, this question is okay, well, if you give it the R rating, then what was the, you're going to shut out a certain portion of the audience, but then I don't think that extra element necessarily was there for people to say but it justifies the R rating to go see it for this reason. So I just think it was a series of mistakes and risks that just didn't pay off.
Right, and that audience who wants an R-rated Harley Quinn is already being served by the Harley Quinn animated series.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you think that it may have been, had this been a Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy movie, do you think it would have been better, done better in the box office?
Maybe.
Although I do think Harley Quinn has her a standalone appeal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I grew up very Harley Quinn aware. I don't know if that's, I guess just my age demographic. So, yeah. I don't know.
Well, and also, it was just weird. While I was watching it, I was like, some of this is slightly sub-Wickian action, but quite violent and horrific. And we're America. We're totally okay with that. There'd be legs breaking and all type of terrible stuff happening, people getting stabbed in a PG-13 movie, and they save 2 F-bombs. But instead, it was sub-Wickian action, which is still great action. Don't get it twisted, fans. But sub-Wickian action is still way up on action, right? Mm-hmm. And then somebody comes along and says 5 F-bombs about the sub-Wickian action that just happened, or you fall out the window and then somebody says a MF, it's just I am not a prude as far as language. If we didn't have these restrictions, I'd be going nuts. But at the same time, it isn't necessary. What Dan said, I really agree. It wasn't necessary. How many times did John Wick say a curse word? He's killing people all day, but he doesn't say curse words. It's almost like they got it for language instead. And it was the language they were doing was going to ground it in some reality. Harley Quinn does a couple things, blows up a couple things that are like, if that was reality, I'd want her to go to jail instantaneously. You know what I mean? So it's like, this isn't the real world, obviously. So why are we trying to ground it in a reality with this language?
Well, and a lot of that action was added, reportedly later in the game. They brought in Chad Stahelski to work with Kathy Yan to work with the stunt team together to coordinate adding extra action to the film. So I think maybe that was part of it, was that originally it was more adult oriented in the sense of just like the language and the tone, but then they added the action, but then it's just I just think that there's several, this just didn't click.
Didn't gel.
For a lot of different reasons. It just didn't click.
Yeah.
As far as a product, as far as when I was watching it, I was like, there was a couple times when I kind of got yanked out of it, but overall, I'm just like, oh, Harley's so crazy.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed the movie. When I say it didn't click, I mean it did not grab people to come in and see it, at least not in the opening weekend.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a great movie. I can't talk about the content or anything because I haven't seen it yet. But as someone who has also had to learn not to say F or MFer every other word because I grew up on military bases. That's half my vocabulary.
I said it on the show yesterday.
Yeah, you did. You said a big one.
Did you put it in the swear? Did you put the money in the swear jar?
I still got to put it in the swear jar. Well, if the stupid chair would I blame the chair.
I blame the chair.
I blame this chair.
The swear jar is going to buy another chair.
The swear jar is to buy another chair. Wait, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy then. So then people are sabotaging the chair. Why should my troubles with the chair be the only thing that funds getting a new chair? That's a conflict of interest.
Calling out
I'm going to file a grievance.
All right, so it is February. It is Black History Month. We did not get a chance to do this yesterday, but once a week we want to do a Black character spotlight. Spotlight a Black character that is. So I picked the one for this week, and I'm very excited about it. It is from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. We're talking about Auntie Entity. It is Tina Turner and all of her glory. Those earrings, those shoulder pads. She looked like she could run out at the XFL right now and be completely at home. This movie, this is something that I've talked about before. Great job on the graphics there.
Yeah, that was excellent.
Yeah, great work, Jonathan. So something that I have talked about before is because I have a sister who's 5 years older than me, I wound up seeing the sequels to everything first because she had already seen it, and then we go as a family to the sequel, and they're not going to leave the baby at home. Yeah. And so I wind up seeing, or like the ripoffs. I saw Mac and Me before I saw E.T.
Wow.
You live in a totally different world.
Oh man. So you saw E.T. through the filter of Mac and Me.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's weird.
Why you biting Mac and Me style, E.T.?
Reese's Pieces should have been McDonald's French fries. I see the world in a completely weird. I think that's why I like Bad Things so much, is because that's
maybe so
the way that I saw the world. But so Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome was the first Mad Max that I saw, and Auntie Entity. Tina Turner was already so huge. Loved Tina Turner so much. I was so influenced by this that when I would play with my Barbies or like other action figures, my G.I. Joes, I would take a laundry hamper and turn it upside down and turn it into the Thunderdome.
That's nice.
Two Barbies enter, one Ken leaves.
One Ken leaves.
And that's how I would do it. And so, just a really great genre character. And I know that there are big ones that we could talk about, and maybe we'll talk about those, for the rest of this month. But sometimes I also want to be like, oh, this is just something that was like really, it's a little piece of the Danielle puzzle. So, just wanted to put that out there if anyone has an Auntie Entity thoughts.
Well, Dan said, give me some of that lotion because I talk about
that's right. I'm sorry. It is Black History Month. I will be providing lotion for all ashy knuckles and elbows throughout the entirety of the month. If anyone would like some, it will be here on the desk.
Kat was asking about the lotion.
Oh,
yes, no, we got it
for everyone. I was telling you, Danielle, I've not seen Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I love the song. I love the song.
It's delicious.
That's a great song. Because my mom grew up loving Tina Turner. So anything Tina Turner related musically, I'm very familiar with. But not her appearance in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. But I appreciate musically the content. The 80s was such a golden age for musicians acting.
Yes. Yeah.
We've fallen out with Bowie and Prince and Tina Turner and Tom Waits was
did
in
a
there.
lot
He's
of-
still acting.
yeah.
But I wish we could go back to that because sometimes it's a struggle these days.
Yeah, although I know y'all like your Gerard ways, your romances that are chemical. I don't know that I want to see a lot of the more emo dudes start doing it. I know that Harry from One Direction was in Dunkirk for 2 seconds, and great for him.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like Bowie showing up as Pontius Pilate in The Last Temptation of Christ. Like, this is like a serious movie. And then he's like, oh, look, not that he was good.
I want Beyonce as General Grievous.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, man.
That is what I want. I'm picturing it.
All of a sudden, her arms are so coordinated.
Yeah.
There's so much choreography in my arms. I liked Onto Entity because even as a kid, I don't know if I understood sexism or anything like that, but I think I was like, this is an apocalyptic black lady and she runs everything. How in the hell did this happen?
Right.
Like, what machinations had to happen for her to climb up this corporate ladder, as it were? A
corporate apocalypse ladder?
A corporate ladder made of bones. You know what I mean? She had the bones and guzzling. She had to climb up to get to this place. And what value must she have been able to, you know what I mean? She's uniting disparate people into a city in a place where every 5 miles you run into a whole nother fiefdom where people are going to kill you. We talked about Mad Max recently on Nerd Goat, and it seemed like Mad Max was driving 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 miles and having to have a whole nother adventure because everybody's so disparate and spread out. So she made a city in that. That's a monumental achievement.
Yep, and then she killed you. So that was something that I really love that is a part of the Danielle puzzle. We're going to end this on 5 shows that define us via Twitter, baby. How many I'm going to do as many Y's as are on the paper. Okay, panel, so you are at a speed dating thing, or I haven't read this. Okay, panel, you're at a speed dating thing or some such contrived moment where you need to get your personality across quickly. What 5 TV shows, I am having nightmares of trying to online date right now. What 5 TV shows would you use to define you in a nutshell? We'll just go, everyone will do their 5, give us a few of the reasons of how that kind of shaped you. And Ed, we will start with you.
Oh, geez. Okay, I was crapping thinking of this because it's going to sound so bad. No one would ever want to date me if they heard these shows. Here goes. And I didn't count stuff I grew up on because most of the stuff I grew up on sucked.
In hindsight.
You know what I mean? So I can't, and I
Very
can't
often,
know.
don't go back and watch your favorite
Right,
shows.
and I can't know how much they shaped me. So the things that could suggest my taste presently, You're the Worst on FX, because it's like just literally about like what happens if you go for a one-night stand and it becomes a relationship. And you
That's me. 3 years. 3 years.
Right.
Cheers to me. Thank you.
The conceit of the show is like they tell each other the worst things about each other so that they could just get it all out of the way, and they know they'll never see each other again, and they end up seeing each other a lot more and having adventures. So it's a pretty good series, and it's kind of about the worst of humanity trying to get better. Breaking Bad, I gotta be a basic B and say that I like Breaking Bad because it ends, right?
Yeah.
And it plays with the idea of, I understand a lot of people identify with certain sketchy characters, but in the end, you got to understand those characters are bad.
Right.
People versus O.J. Simpson. I love that. It's beautiful, and it doesn't just go, ugh, white people crazy because they hate O.J. Black people crazy because they love O.J. It was like really concentrating on trying to understand what that media time was, understand the factors that were involved, and that's my personality. I try to understand all the factors before I hot take. That's why when I do hot take, believe me, I thought about it, and I still did it. Knight Rider. Knight Rider was a big part of my youth. I stayed in one town a lot, so the travel of it intrigued me. The supercar of it intrigued me. It was just amazing. And this is my bad one. This last one is my bad one. I'll either say He-Man, which teaches you facile metaphors about power, and doesn't really have very much female agency, and Battle Cat's a slave. There's all kind of bad stuff going on in there. Or I watched a lot of Dukes of Hazzard's reruns when I was a kid, and I say that to say, even with that media, I became who I am today, who is not down with that stuff. It's not about to jump up in the General Lee. It's not about to revere those people doing that stuff. But at the same time, that's the media that I was raised on. So if you're raised with stuff like that, normalizing stuff like that all in your head, and you can still learn what's up later.
Right.
So that would be it.
That's great. Those are great picks. Thank you, Ed.
That's right.
What do you got for us, Maggie?
Oh boy. All right. So the first one I have is the original Zorro series. Oh, black and white. Zorro came on at midnight on the Disney Channel. Yeah. My brother and I loved Zorro. And I watched it before, like, I think I had real crushes, but like something in me was like, absolutely, you have to do the right thing no matter what, and you can't get credit for it. You have to wear a mask. These are just like things that I like really like believed. But I loved that show, and everything, the relationship, the characters, the way like he cared about the town that he was a part of in a very special way, and also having like these invaders come in, these signs of authority that were bad for the town, and having someone to come in and stand up for them, like, I think really resonated with me. Also, I just love staying up to midnight when it was a trick. If I like Zorro, I gotta stay up to midnight. But I loved that show. The next one I have is Mr. Show, Bob Odenkirk. I think that show, I watched it later in life, but as I was watching it, I was like, this is very much my sense of humor. This is my style. I love the way that everything is connected, but also they're not restrained to the connections that they make with their comedy. And if you rewatch it, a lot of it holds up. Some of it doesn't, but a lot of it does. So, it's worth a rewatch. It's on HBO if you have it. I also have Breaking Bad as a basic
Very
beat.
nice.
But
I salute basic beat stuff. Sometimes people like, a lot of people like something because it's really good.
That's true.
Not always, but sometimes it's because it's a really good thing.
And I feel very similarly about it. The way that they treat him as a character, I just really respect. And also dances the line of like, why do we idolize these people? And also, maybe don't,
Right.
I think it does a very good job of that. Very satisfying ending.
Yep.
The style is very great. The Fly is an amazing episode. And also that the idea that it kind of adheres to a Shakespearean tragedy, I really like. Next I wrote down Dragon Ball, the Cell Saga, specifically. Right. Yeah. Oddly, like when I look back on it, I think it had an influence on the way that I see gender, just because I was so like, what very masculine, very feminine in ways. And I think at a young age, it just helped me like question, binaries in that way. Also, I just love it. Just simply love it. I would watch it with my dad every weekend. So, yeah, and then finally I have Space Ghost. Coast to Coast.
Nice.
Brack just...
I can see it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. But yes, it very deeply entrenched in just like... and to this day, I love that type of absurdity and strong characters. I think comedy can go as to the reaches of space,
absolutely,
if you will. If you have characters that you care about, and miraculously they did that in a very odd way.
That's a great fix.
Yeah.
Mine, I'm going to do only a little bit of Danielle cheating, but I'm grouping them together into things.
Oh, I see how it is.
Yeah. Only a little bit.
I'm over here like furiously scratching out and like agonizing.
Well, because I want to, so one of them I'm going to say is like, I was going to say either Buffy or Xena, but together they're kind of that outdoor adventure, Buffy, Xena, Hercules, that kind of thing, because I always love those. Again, it's the idea of the sheriff, the person goes from town to town and fixes the problems and then moves on to fix the next thing. I've always been super into that, and especially if it's like, man, if you show me a bunch of friends solving problems and being friends, I'm going to pop. If you show me a bunch of people who have to sleep on the ground every night because they're traveling hard and then they fish, I'm going to pop really hard. So there's that. Living single was a huge one for me. because it was a 90s kind of world, and I was glad I had my girls. And I love that show. It's a sitcom for a lot of you who, younger folks. It is a sitcom. It's been in the news more lately because David Schwimmer from Friends said that he thought, hey, if we do a Friends reboot, why couldn't it be an all-black Friends or an all-whatever Friends? It should definitely be, he said it needs to be more diverse. And everyone was like, but Friends basically stole the thing from Living Single, which the creators have said, like, we were highly influenced by it because NBC was originally in the running to buy it, and they ultimately didn't, and Fox picked it up, and it had always been something that NBC was like, we should have picked that up. And so that was where a lot of the basis for Friends came from. And so it is on Hulu if you want to watch it. It is very 90s, but all y'all are wearing them clothes now anyway. So
It's coming back.
Absolutely.
it's upsetting.
Light jean jacket.
Yeah.
Not, you know.
Small flower patterns.
Plaid shirts always.
Plaid shirts always. Faux life. Sketch comedy, The State, was huge for me. In fact, almost anything during that MTV era, The State, Beavis and Butthead, which a weird...
Yeah.
Me and my sister used to like do that voice to each other all the time, just the Hey Beavis voice, and then we just started calling each other Beavis, and like she's in my phone as Wuss. And then when my niece was younger, like a baby, and she was learning how to talk, her mouth couldn't form Danielle, so she called me Auntie Beavis, which was fine, but my mom was not having it.
No.
My mom was not having it, but yeah, so I was Auntie Beavis for a very long time, and yeah, like in my phone, like we still call each other Beavis and Wuss and Butt Munch and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, she's Wuss in my phone, and like those are our like family names, but no one else in the family can call us that. They try to, and we're both like, no.
I just I don't want to interject in your list,
No.
but Beavis and Butthead really pierced all the different diasporas that there are, because my mother to this day, when I say, hey mom, why don't you do I talk to her a little bit too brusquely, she goes, are you threatening me? Like she literally does that. And it's like we watch Beavis and Butthead, so it pierced everything.
Yeah, it was through everything, and all the stuff that he does is amazing. And then this is another one where I'm grouping them all together, and it's basically anything from Mulan, because very specifically I like the kind of comedy that they do, from Good Place to Parks and Rec. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is in there, and The Office is in there, but particularly for me, Good Place and Parks and Rec, they have a way of doing comedy that not only does it never punch down, it also says that, hey, like you can change and be better, and like it wants their characters to grow and not be trash, and you celebrate them for that. So even if someone is just the worst douchebag in the world, the show makes you want to feel for their humanity and get to a point where it's like, yeah, they're not just like, oh, they're the terrible this kind of person, so they're the butt monkey. Like everyone has like real humanity, and the way that they tackle humor like that is something that like. That's the kind of, and I tell a lot of snarky jokes because that's like also what I do, but like those are the kind of shows that like I would really want to make, is something where it's like, especially like The Good Place, and the way it like throws in philosophy and all this, ethics, and yeah, I just think that those, man, if you can find a way to tell those kind of jokes where it's just because I like Seinfeld and other Always Sunny and all that stuff, but like I think that this is a much harder needle to thread, and they do it beautifully.
Yep.
So this is about my personality. These are not necessarily the five, but I think of the five best TV shows of all time. This is about my personality. Number 1, Dawson's Creek. It's a show about a kid in a small town, wants to make movies, idolizes Steven Spielberg, whoosh, he was the same age as I was when he came out.
I came very close to getting arrested on the Dawson's Creek area. And then I saw the signs where they were like, we will shoot you. And I was like, nope, not going there.
If you wanted to know the sort of earnestness of my teenage years, watch Dawson's Creek, because that was very much made for me. So Dawson's Creek would be one of them. The West Wing is another one that ties into my very overly idealistic, unrealistically at times, idealistic way of looking at the world, and just this hope that, our civil servants are here for king and God and country. King, not king, obviously.
Some of them are here
but here for to serve the citizens in the country and the traditions of democracy, and and the good wins out. Like just a very idealistic way, particularly in the Sorkin years. Got a little cynical and bitter in the later 3 years before sort of coming back around at the end to the idealism.
That's why I usually stop at the end of the Sorkin years.
A lot of people do. If you get through season 5, you're fine. So the West Wing very much taps into that sort of like, this is the world I want to live in, that I often have. And then Star Trek: The The Next Generation. That shouldn't be a surprise. I almost went original series, but then my next pick kind of canceled out the original series. So I'm going to go with TNG. Again, idealistic, yes, I like, but it's also just a good mix of like deep, heavy, methodical sci-fi debate episodes about like, you know, Lieutenant Data, he is a man, is it not a man? Like, you know, just Shakespeare quoting. But then the next one, you know, like they hit a cosmic storm and they all turn into kids. It's such a mix of different things.
I
just watched that one.
I've been wondering like why aren't I as smart as Dan? And it's because he was watching that and I was like, well, man, damn, dude, boys, how we gonna jump over this highway?
I should say Beavis and Butthead was on the no list. Beavis and Butthead was on the underscore
Little Danielle
no
was
list.
not watching that.
No.
You were not watching anybody jump over no cricks.
No. Beavis and Butthead was, you're going to burn the house down if you watch this show. Groundable offense, no list. So maybe that's why it's not on this list.
No,
Two of my shows are about destroying cars by jumping them over stuff.
It's admirable too. I mean, who was Q if not what's the guy that's always chasing him?
Boss Hog.
Boss Hog. Who was Q if not the Boss Hog of the galaxy?
The line must be drawn here, Boss Hog.
No father. So then 60s Batman. Number one, it taps into the whole comic book. I love Batman. He's my favorite comic book character. But I also just love the fact that there's a level of humor going on in that show that is so it was counterculture at that time, but is now a lot of people recognize, but it's almost subversive with what they were doing, but it's also just stupid. I love stupid. I love to watch stupid things sometimes. It's just dumb in a good way. Dumb in the way that they knew that it was dumb. They knew they were making a dumb show. They leaned into it. Excuse me. I just love the 60s Batman show. And then the fifth one would be the UK Office.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, that really ties most of all into my sense of humor. And again, that I'll find just about I find lots of different things funny, and I love that the UK Office goes from Ricky Gervais is doing a silly dance to the most uncomfortable, just like if you view it out of context or if you view it from a certain way, I think you would find it horribly offensive. You have to understand that it's a critique on the characters and not the action, and it's just such a deeper level of comedy that just but it also has that heart to it, particularly in the finale. It combines so many different things. I think it just sort of encapsulates a lot of what I'm drawn to in a TV show, which is just like, yes, it's funny, but it also has some dramatic elements. It also has different kinds of humor. And so, yeah, those would be the five. Like, if you want to know who I am, it sort of runs that whole spectrum from dumb 60s Batman to extremely earnest and optimistic to cringe-inducing comedy. It's like that's all it hits all the different wickets there.
I feel like I know so much about all of you right now. This was amazing. I feel like I just read all of your teenage diaries, and I'm super psyched about it. Y'all,
know, right?
Please leave yours in the comments down below because we definitely want to hear about your five. Ed, where can the people find you?
At Reboot It YouTube channel. Recently we rebooted Friday the 13th in about an hour, and next week we're going to do Star Wars. We're going to get murdered. And Nerd Goat Podcast, that's my podcast where we talk to interesting people about their favorite fictional characters. And both of those are great. And at Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you.
Perfect. Maggie Mayfish, where can the people find you?
Hey guys, you can find me on Twitter, which is just my name, and also on Instagram. Also my name. And then my YouTube channel, also my name. And we have...
Both of those YouTube channels are in the description.
Oh, links are in the description.
Oh, cool, great.
Super.
Go check it out. We are very excited. My next video is on cats. And I will be in full cat paraphernalia.
Nice.
This is a slight preview. I write poetry in the style of T.S. Eliot as a cat, talking about T.S. Eliot, responding to what T.S. Eliot said about cats. It works, I promise.
Look, if I had a hat or my hair was better under this wig, I would tip this wig to you, madame. Dan Murrell.
Yes.
What would you like the people to go see?
You can find me here. You can find Charting here. You can find honest trailers and movie fights over on the Screen Junkies channel. You can find, as we mentioned, a lot of other stuff here on this channel, like defending the Joker and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, just seek out. I'm not going to be like Spencer and tell you to knock yourself unconscious for 3 days and come back. Just
find our stuff. Find our things. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Tomorrow.
What's up?
We're pre-taped tomorrow.
Tomorrow is going to be a pre-tape. But I believe for good reasons. But
It
tomorrow
is.
it's a good reason.
No, it's for nefarious reasons.
I think somebody awesome might be on that pre-tape.
Oh, is it me?
Check out to see who's wearing the same clothes back here tomorrow. And we will see you then. Thank you all so much. Have a good day.